I didn't actually expect the author to do something like this again, let alone so soon, but to my surprise and to my emotions and probably to all of yours as well, here we are. Absolutely devastated, heartbroken, emotional. Once again, shouldn't even be a surprise at this point. In the back of my mind going into this chapter, I had some sort of feeling of what to expect. However, I could not expect it to be as emotional or as powerful as it was portrayed, as it was constructed and played upon. The relationship, the friendship, the mental states, the intertwining of love even, which is a very pure thing to witness, especially from both of these characters, Denji and Power. Like I said, I had some sort of inclination on what would happen to Power, but I didn't think the author would actually go through with it. I didn't think he would kill her off, bring her back, and then kill her off again in a more serious and legitimate type of way. But somehow, some way, how he's played upon it, how he's utilized it and weaponized the emotion behind it is so very prominent. It's extremely effective. Till this day, people are still only just getting over the fact that Power was evidently killed, and then she suddenly comes back and everyone's obviously happy again or excited to see her back within the story and thriving within this new devil form. And then you get this chapter, which is filled with so much personality. If for some reason you didn't necessarily understand Power, or even Denji for example, this chapter will do everything to clear all of those things, to make us as readers understand fully where both of these characters sit mentally and emotionally. Because this is a new beginning. This opens up the doors to a whole new variety of things and a journey that we get to experience. So it's safe to say now, and I'm fairly confident, that Chainsaw Man is not going to end anytime soon. You don't just implement a massive plot twist with Makima and the reveal of her wants and fabrications of all of these things that she wants to do. You don't reveal the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and not actually play upon them. You don't have this power situation or this revolutionary change in Denji, let alone this whole reveal of the Chainsaw Devil. You don't have all of these different concepts and elements being introduced so late within the story if people thought it was actually concluding and not playing on it. Don't get me wrong, by this point the author is extremely unpredictable. He does whatever he wants, and in both senses it's a blessing and a curse. A blessing for us as readers because we don't necessarily know what to expect, and the weekly experience is so incredibly enjoyable and fascinating and enthralling, but it's also a curse because he could end it at any moment. Would it be a good ending? Yes and no. I guess it somewhat depends, but because he's so unpredictable, you never truly know what to expect next. And I guess that was the biggest reasoning why people thought this story was coming to a conclusion. Even a lot of massive places with large followings were spreading this illusion that this story was in its climatic moments, when in reality it's still introducing cohesive ties to continue the narrative forward. It just didn't necessarily make sense with me. So I was very conflicted myself. I know the literature behind it. I know the writing elements being introduced that technically push the story forward for a very long time, setting its own building blocks and the foundation once again to push everything forward for a longer running experience. Yet on the other hand, I'm looking at people with large followings and massive connections that are saying the story is coming to a conclusion. I can only imagine how people that come through here and there, how they were feeling. Also, if you end up enjoying this video, consider subscribing. I greatly appreciate it. The main reasoning for this rambling is that Chainsaw Man is continuing, and the biggest pillar and support for all of this is Power herself. As not only does she save Denji's life by actually not handing him into Makima, but turning away and running for her life, knowing that she will not defeat Makima, she will not escape. So the only thing she can do is try her best to save him to whatever degree it may be. To put it in its simplest form, she gives her life to save him. Now this in itself is a powerful thing, but right before they actually showcase this, they give you this very small snippet of Power's personality before she met Denji. She was a character that did not care about anything. She was a character that recognized that all lives to her were equally trivial, even her own. And she wouldn't have a care in a world if a stranger died or if she died. Nothing was important to her. That was her mindset. That was her emotion. Yet directly after it, in this moment of such high velocity tension and anxiety, she has grown so far from that point where she is doing everything in her willpower to save Denji, someone that she has grown extremely close to, someone that is an extremely close friend. That very small understanding of Power's previous self and her mindset does a lot to orchestrate this whole chapter, to orchestrate your emotions. That's kind of the whole point. It's making you realize how far she's come as a character, and it's even slightly allowing you to reflect on the whole Chainsaw Man experience in itself, from chapter 1 all the way to where we are now, and the relationship that has been built between Power and Denji. She has come an extremely long way, and the previous chapter does a great example of playing into her character so deeply and so respectively, where people thought that she would actually give Denji back because she just seems like a character that would do that. Yet this chapter completely cancels what you originally may have thought or were hoping wasn't going to happen, and says that no, she has grown as a character. Denji is a very well respected and lovable friend to her, and she will do everything in her power to save him. It's a very beautiful thing. It's done effortlessly, and it's so easy to overlook and overshadow just how important and prominent this whole setup truly is, because it's not just placed in there randomly, it's very meticulous and well handled. I think the hardest thing to come from this is when she manages to get Denji to a safe enough distance. They're stuck in a dumpster, right? And this exact situation is meant to parallel the same thing that happened with Denji and Pochita at the beginning of the story. It's such a powerful thing and a heartbreaking touch to both of these characters' journeys. It's almost identical, to be completely honest. What's great about this moment is they're not within their devil forms. It's just Denji and Power in their human form, and showing so much compassion and emotion for one another. At least it's somewhat one-sided at the beginning, with Power being extremely excited to see Denji. Within these moments, however, they are both critically injured and on the verge of dying. But this final push and visualization meant to parallel and reference the Pochita and Denji encounter within that dumpster is undoubtedly an iconic moment and utilized to the highest of degrees. I think the smartest thing from the conversation that they actually have is that we get to see a good portion of Denji's mental state, what he was somewhat experiencing within these moments or within the Chainsaw Man ability / armor, and it's not all too good. If anything, he's actually extremely broken. He's shut down all of his emotions, and his mental state is not good. To put simply, he's given up. And he's expressing all of these negative things to Power, how he lived a good life and had all these great moments, ate some good food, and it was all in past tense, like he was never going to experience it again, that he didn't really care what would happen next. But the person to obviously bring him back, to give him some sort of purpose, to give him some sort of life again, some emotional response, is none other than Power. And it's a side of her that we don't see all too often. It's actually extremely rare. It's a very mature side. It's almost borderline motherly, or even something along the lines of being a big sister. And when you connect this to her proposing the idea of giving Denji something to live for, creating a contract with him, it actually sparks a little bit of life out of him. It somewhat snaps him out of it to a degree. His mind or his emotions aren't just magically or fully healed, but it's enough to continue him forward. It's enough to give him a drive to continue living and to one day find Power within hell. Because this is where it all boils down to. Power sacrifices herself by giving every drop of blood she has to Denji, and that she will be spun up and resurrected in hell once again. But unfortunately, she won't be herself. So they may actually be enemies, but she pleads for Denji to come and find her and to turn her into Power once again. And since it's proposed as a contract, it's something that not only he wants to oblige by, but legitimately somewhat has to. It's a good driving mechanism, not only for the narrative to continue forward and to one day bring Power back into the story with Denji pursuing her and trying to find her, obviously, potentially even fighting her again, but it also does a lot for Denji emotionally. Once again, it's powerful, it's impactful, it's the most heartbreaking scene, and just seeing them so connected and close and the experience that they've had up to this point, it's perfection. I don't think there would be any other way within the story that you could have such a prominent and memorable goodbye between two different characters that means so much for each character and for also the story. This is a massive turning point. By the end of it, Denji wakes up. He's out of the dumpster and he's getting all teary-eyed and emotional, remembering Power now that she is no longer within the story and will eventually be resurrected as a devil, someone that he has to go and pursue. But funny enough, right beside his dumpster is Kishibe, and Kishibe offers him an opportunity, one that allows Denji, not Chainsaw Man, but Denji himself, to escape from Makima and potentially work with Kishibe, I assume, to eventually take her out within the future, because their goals are suddenly starting to align a lot more closely. And if Kishibe wants Makima gone, and depending on Denji's mental state currently and how he's going to pursue things further, they're going to be working together rather meticulously to somewhat weave around her. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here, as we end off the chapter with Denji throwing up a nice little peace sign, which is also a good throwback to, I believe, one of the first color pages that Chainsaw Man got at the beginning of the story. It was a color page of both Denji and Power both throwing the peace sign, so a nice, memorable, and impactful way to end off the chapter, which was so emotionally heartbreaking. We thought the first time that Power went was shocking and completely unexpected. Well, this is the one that has all of the emotions behind it. I do expect a lot of people are going to cry reading through this, but I thought it was beautifully done. It was magnificent. And from here, we have a very incredible viewpoint of where Chainsaw Man wants to go. We've built those building blocks. We've built those sequiturs, those cohesive ties to join everything nicely together. To name the three biggest ones, Makima's wants and goals, Denji's now new goal of finding Power, and the four horsemen of the apocalypse. We have a long journey with Chainsaw Man. This is the start of a new beginning, so I am extremely excited to see where we go from here. So with that being said, let me know how you felt about this chapter. Did you get a little bit teary-eyed? Did you get a little bit emotional regarding Power and Denji? What was your favorite moment out of this whole thing? I would love to hear your thoughts. But I hope you all enjoyed. Drink plenty of water, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.